There's a little bit of drama on the set of CNN's State of the Union, where White House advisor Stephen Miller had to be escorted off the set after a very controversial interview with host Jake Tapper. Now, I want to show you that interview, show you how it got, why it got so heated, and then we'll talk about the drama afterwards. Let's take a look.
But plenty of questions on immigration. You've attempted to filibuster by talking about your flights with the president. I want to ask you a question because
don't be condescending, Jake.
Stephen, the president and the White House.
The reason why I want to talk about
the president and the White House.
The reason why I want to talk about the president's experiences, what I've seen with him traveling to meet dozens of foreign leaders, with his incredible work.
Okay, you're not answering the questions.
No,
I understand.
You have 24 hours a day of anti-Trump material, and you're not going to give 3 minutes for the American people to hear the real experience of Donald Trump.
There's one viewer that you care about right now, and you're being obsequious. You're being a factotum in order to please him. Okay.
No.
And I think I've wasted enough of my viewers' time.
You know who I
Thank you,
care
Stephen.
about?
As Republicans, lawmakers call for Attorney General Jeff Sessions to resign, in a major reversal, Democrats are now coming to his defense. What changed? We'll ask the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee next.
Ooh, that got a little spicy in there. Okay, so let me both defend and criticize CNN. And so in doing so, I'm actually going to go after Stephen Miller first and explain to you why he should not have been on CNN at all in the first place. Now, for one, Stephen Miller, he's full of shit, right? He's Donald Trump's lackey, right? Now, earlier part of the interview, which I did not show you, he talked about the factory workers losing their jobs, which is a very important concern. As a former factory worker, I definitely empathize. I lost my job in a bad trade deal, right? Thanks to NAFTA. My job went to Mexico, and a lot of people's jobs, that people that I knew, their job went to Mexico. So I'm very, very tuned in, right, to that concern over outsourcing. Now, he goes from, let's think about those people, to let's go to talking about uncontrolled immigration, how that is the fault of uncontrolled immigration. No. See, the immigration from Mexico, specifically, in 2017, is at a 17-year low. Now, that same statistic, by the way, President Trump took credit for, despite actually not doing anything. And you know what's funny? There's another stat where President Trump had actually deported less people in 2017 than Obama had in the previous year. President Obama is the deporter-in-chief, or was the deporter-in-chief. And yet, Donald Trump is supposed to be tough on immigration, right? Deported less people. That's amazing. That's amazing. Not that I'm in favor of mass deportations. I am in favor of deporting people who are criminals, who actually do violent crimes, and gang members. That's fine. And nobody wants those people here. Immigrants, other undocumented immigrants, don't want those people here because it makes them look bad. So, yeah, I'm in favor of that. And the Obama administration did focus on that, where the Trump administration is like, I don't know, you brown and you're here illegally? Get out. We're kicking you out. We're kicking you out. So that's what they're doing here. But see, here's the thing, right? As much as CNN, and this is where the criticism comes into play, as much as they don't report on issues like factory workers losing their jobs because of outsourcing, because these corporations would rather go to Vietnam to exploit cheap labor, well, Trump also doesn't talk about that cause. No, the administration, just like Stephen Miller, frame it as we've got to give corporations more tax cuts to keep them here. So, and then we've got to get rid of the illegals. See, they're demagogues. This is classic demagoguery. Instead of blaming the billion-dollar companies for going elsewhere to exploit cheap labor, let's blame the most powerless people in America, immigrants, because that's who Stephen Miller is. Speaking to the New York Times, and let me give you more information about who Stephen Miller is. A Trump team colleague described Miller as, quote, fiercely loyal to the president, a true believer in every sense of the word. I'm pretty sure he believes more in Trump's rhetoric than Donald Trump does. Now, he's also a miserable person and deeply, deeply racist. In fact, a lot of people went and talked to people who had went to school with Stephen Miller. right? Back in high school, he was showing these racist views. Student body president Justin Brownstone said Miller enjoyed saying things that were perceived as racist. The more he offended, the happier he was. So he got a rise out of being racist to people and saying racist things. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean he's a racist, right? If he just says racist things to get a rise out of people, oh, he's just trolling. He's just trolling. He perfected the art of trolling before trolling. Well, let's see if that's true. Oscar De La Torre, his former high school counselor, said Miller frequently claimed that because he, a white male, didn't experience racism or sexism, that students of color were just making it up. Oh, you guys are just victims. You're victims, man. No, he didn't believe oppression existed at all. Since he didn't experience it himself, well, then that must not exist. It sounds a lot like climate denial. It was cold today, so global warming doesn't exist. It's dry today, so water doesn't exist. No, that's not how it works. Now, De La Torre said, this guy is 17 years old, and it's listening like someone who was 70 years old in the 1930s. Now there's more. Charles Gould, whom the Daily News describes as Miller's schoolmate from 1st to 12th grade, wrote, Miller was an unabashed racist. No, I'm not being oversensitive, and no, I'm not using the R word where it doesn't apply. In private conversations, he was constantly making disparaging remarks about the African American, Latino, and Asian students at our school. Classmate Natalie Flores, who wrote a Huffington Post piece about growing up with Miller, told Univision that Miller seemed to have, quote, an intense hatred toward people of color, especially toward Latinos. She added, I think his big problem was the Latinos. He thought they lived off welfare. So that's just a few examples of who the real Stephen Miller is. So it's not going to surprise you what happened after the interview. Two sources close to the situation told Business Insider that after the taping was done, Miller was asked to leave several times. Miller ignored those requests and had stayed there apparently to argue with Jake Tapper some more until security was called and he was escorted out of the building. And it's likely, and I'm just making a guess here, I don't think it's the first time. I would bet that it's not the first time he was escorted out of a building that he was asked to leave. I mean, there's a video out there floating around where he was basically booed off stage at his high school. So, for making racist jokes. So, now, is Tapper right to cancel the to have canceled that interview? Yes. My problem with CNN is why bring him on in the first place? So, look, my defense of CNN is, okay, you can kick whoever you want off. That's fine. And I actually support that because people like that don't belong on television. The problem with CNN is that he brought that guy on television. Why bring him on in the first place? You already know what kind of person he is, right? They knew what they were getting into. And so that's my point. They bring him on because of the ratings. You can talk about immigration. You can talk about factory workers losing their jobs. I encourage those discussions. You could talk about any other issue, climate change, without bringing on crazy people to argue with. This guy is a white supremacist, and CNN gave him a platform as if he's credible. Now, of course, it looks like he's not likely to come back to CNN, at least. But the problem is that even if you argue against him, as Jake Tapper does, right, their ideas are debated as if they are credible. And that's the problem. And so that credibility is a big problem. And I have another problem with CNN as well. It's how they always try to analyze the president's tweets as if they're some sort of political strategy or something like that. No, there's no strategy there. There's nothing really behind it. He's just an idiot who says randomly stupid things. So, my issues with CNN and cable news aside, I should do 100% agree with Tapper and that Miller was out there trying to make his boss happy. That was his sole purpose for being on that show. CNN brought him on to get the ratings. They got the ratings. And Miller was there just to make Trump happy. And on that, did he succeed? Well, let's look at one Trump tweet where he said, Jake Tapper of fake news CNN just got destroyed in his interview with Stephen Miller of the Trump administration. Watch the hatred and unfairness of this CNN flunky. Well, mission accomplished, Stephen. Mission accomplished. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.